touched down in New York City. First time here, first stop is always Times Square. They say the neon lights are bright on Broadway. Well, this is where the bright lights come from, right here. We're in Times Square. Lots of cool things to see. The Red Steps, Father Duffy. Did you know that over 340,000 people a day come to Times Square? This little area, Times Square, goes from 47th Street down to 42nd Street between 7th and Broadway. It's the crossroads, hello, it's the crossroads of the world. And even though it's exciting and wonderful, there's a lot of stuff that really bothers me about Times Square. Is it the overpriced food? Nope. Is it the fact that there's over 340,000 people a day that come through here and you're only going to see maybe 4 or 5 cops? Nope. Is it the pigeons pecking at you every time you sit down? Nope. Is it that it gets very, very crowded? Nope. Is it because there's people selling marijuana every 5 feet? Nope. Is it because there's entrepreneurs on every corner selling their wares? Nope. Is it all the traffic, especially yellow cabs as far as the eye can see? No. Is it the homeless? Nope. It's the costume characters. Number one thing you don't want to see in Times Square is the costume characters, and let me tell you why.
Crackdown in Times Square. More characters were charged with crimes after a man dressed as Spider-Man was arrested Saturday night for allegedly punching a police officer. CBS News' Andrea Grimes joins us live with the story. Andrea, good morning to you.
And Mary and Diane, good morning to you. That's right. Police this morning confirmed at least 5 arrests of people dressed up as superheroes and other characters in Times Square over the weekend, including one for allegedly assaulting a police officer. Investigators say 25-year-old Junior Bishop of Brooklyn punched a cop in the face Saturday afternoon. Investigators say an officer overheard the costume superhero dressed like this Spider-Man refuse a woman's $1 tip after posing for a picture, telling her he only accepts 5, 10s, or 20s. Police say the officer told the woman she can donate whatever she wants, but Bishop yelled, cursed, and argued. When he didn't have any ID, police say the officer tried to arrest him, but Bishop punched him. Some witnesses claim police attacked first, though.
He came, put his right arm around his neck, and tried to body slam him on the floor. Spidey then got out of it and then started retaliating back against the cop.
They should be licensed, they should pay taxes, and they should have a minimum price guide, and that would eliminate everything.
As you just heard, many believe a character crackdown is necessary. Police say at least 4 others were arrested over the weekend, charged with things including disorderly conduct and aggressive panhandling. Several of these street performers have been arrested over the last few years.
Quirky is fine, creepy is not.
Out-of-control characters have been a recurring issue in Times Square, prompting a recent meeting between the Times Square Alliance and city leaders.
Our feeling is that there are honest folks who are just trying to earn a living, but there's also some folks who are taking advantage of people.
In addition to harassing tourists for money, several characters have been arrested in recent years for groping tourists, which is why one city councilman says he's drafting a law to license people behind the masks. Some of the costume adults we spoke with insist Spider-Man's antics are his own. They're just trying to earn a living.
We're not bad, you know?
Those characters say they make an average of about $50 a day. Now, as for the officer involved in this most recent incident, he was left with a swollen eye and a scrape on the face. Junior Bishop is facing a series of charges, including second-degree assault on an officer. He is scheduled to be arraigned later today.
Elmos and Cookie Monsters walk the streets fighting for the same tips. Things can and do get ugly. Recently, a man dressed as Cookie Monster allegedly pushed a 2-year-old after his parents didn't tip. A man dressed as Super Mario was charged with groping a woman back in December, while the man in this video, dressed as Elmo, was busted last summer for shouting anti-Semitic slurs.
Don't use Michael Milken's International Jew brand leapfrog. Don't use Michael Milken's International Jewish toy.
Some of the costume characters are a little too aggressive. It's just how it is. These guys can't see anything, especially when it's in the shade, and especially when there's a big crowd on top of them. The visibility out of here is like this. I mean, I literally cannot see anything. And that's what the accusations all are. That, oh, Elmo groped me, Spider-Man punched me, so-and-so pushed down my kid. I'm sorry, I just don't believe that.
And those New Yorkers who stopped to pose agree. The bad behavior may just be isolated incidents and welcome the huggable attractions.
It brings more kids to come to Times Square because they already know that these characters are here.
As long as their parents remember to tip.
The fight broke out here on 44th and Broadway Saturday night between Batman, Spider-Man, and a third person who cops say heckled the superheroes. The costume characters responded with punches. All three spent the night in jail.
I think that's really bad. I think it makes us look bad.
Costume characters in Times Square speaking out after new arrests. Police have charged 41-year-old Jose Martinez, dressed as Batman, 35-year-old Abdel El Kahize, dressed as Spider-Man, and 23-year-old Thomas Rourke with misdemeanor assault. In July, we interviewed Martinez about characters behaving badly.
This is your point of view because you're the news.
Martinez's arrest comes on the heels of several incidents involving costumed characters. Like Spider-Man, who webbed himself into police custody this summer by punching a cop. City Councilman Andy King is sponsoring legislation requiring the characters to be licensed by the city.
We're saying that if you do come out here, we just want to know who you are.
In London, everybody's got any sort of street entertainer has to be licensed.
They should be regulated, yeah.
Some of the characters that have been in trouble with the law have long rap sheets, including the Batman taken into custody here Saturday night. Police say he'd been arrested before for public urination, assault, and weapons possession.
It's time to take some real steps to regulate this new reality.
Tim Tompkins is president of the Times Square Alliance and is pushing for these characters to be licensed by the city.
If you challenge them about giving a tip, then they push back really hard.
We were curious, so we went undercover with CBS interns posing as tourists. In general, the characters were more subdued after this weekend's arrests.
Just a tip, please. I will tip.
All demanded tips, but they didn't ask for a specific amount, which they're not allowed to do. But notice how Mickey Mouse and Papa Smurf jump into frame while we're taking a photo with Minnie. All asked for money.
Complaints about those costume characters in Times Square, from harassing people to demanding money from tourists. Some say the new changes haven't made a difference. CBS 2's Hazel Sanchez went to see what's happening there.
The blue lines painted on the ground in Times Square make it clear where the costume characters and entertainers are allowed to solicit for tips. But there was no one there at 1 this afternoon. Instead, they were breaking the rules on the corner of 42nd Street and 7th Avenue. Our video shows a group ganging up on tourist Renelle Nicholas Best after taking a picture with her 6- and 2-year-old sons.
My friend was giving them $2 and they was like, I don't want that, I don't want that. I said, but it's still money. So...
What they wanted, bigger bills?
I think they wanted more.
This type of aggressive behavior was part of the reason the city established designated activity zones a year ago. The 8 areas marked in blue show where the characters can work.
At the beginning of July, the Times Square Alliance spent a Saturday between 4 and 9 p.m. observing the designated activity zones and found the costume characters were regularly violating the rules.
The Alliance says 88% of the interactions involved a costume character touching a member of the public without consent. This surveillance video from April shows several incidents where characters corral unsuspecting tourists, often children, outside the zone to take photos before demanding tips for everyone.
I'd like a strategy where the NYPD does observations and really identifies who are the people, the repeat offenders that are more aggressive, more education that says, you know, this is what is appropriate and this is what's inappropriate.
Police say arrests have gone down, arresting 5 costume characters so far this year, compared to 26 during the same time last year.
The Alliance says the characters are part of the fabric that makes Times Square what it is.
Crackdown on Times Square's costume characters is underway.
You're looking live at a picture where color-coded zones will be used to keep the characters in check. CBS 2's Janelle Burrell live in Times Square, down on the ground to explain exactly how it works. Hi, Janelle.
Hi there, Chris and Mary. No more free roaming for those costume characters. That includes the naked cowboy who is right now standing in one of those new zones that went down overnight. The question now, will they work?
The paint beneath the lights of Times Square still drying, but the frustration from those who walk these crossroads and deal with these characters daily is as intense as ever.
These people are like horrible. They attack people. They are like, they fight with each other, they fight with people if you don't give them tips.
The area is now color-coded. Here's how it works. Blue for the area where people can solicit money, green the so-called chill zones where you can pause to take in the sights, and purple express lanes where officials say you can walk without interference.
It encompasses any entertainers out here, whether costume characters, desk notice, ticket sellers.
We will also have signage that clearly communicates what activity zones people should be in.
This morning we watched Elsa and Spider-Man snap a picture with this tourist, then show her a card asking for tips. They were unsuccessful and think the new zones will make it even harder to earn cash.
It's a small space for everybody.
Small space for everyone. Yeah.
I have living in New York for 10 years. This is my job.
Oscar Rodriguez insists the arrests from aggressive and sometimes harassing characters are the exceptions. As for the new zones, police say there will be penalties for violators.
Starts off with a civil ramification, as well as there is a criminal ramification. But as I testified earlier, we fully expect voluntary compliance from a large majority of our characters.
Not everyone is convinced.
But it's a place where people can roam freely, and I think it's not the best idea. No. I think you do better to cover up the topless women. Yeah, and the naked cowboy.
Well, back live, we can tell you that this enforcement will begin on June 21st. The officials from the Department of Transportation say that they will have ambassadors out here in Times Square starting on Monday to educate the public about the new rules. Reporting live this noon from Times Square, Janelle Burrell, CBS 2 News.
Janelle, thank you.
New zone regulations for costume characters in Times Square aren't even a week old yet, but we found they're already being broken. CBS 2's Tracy Carrasco has the video to prove it.
Spider-Man, Cookie Monster, Mickey Mouse, and a couple of Elsas. This newly designated activity zone in Times Square packed with costume characters. But on Saturday, this cell phone video shows 3 costume characters soliciting pictures for money on 42nd Street and 8th Avenue, an area they are no longer allowed.
Look, harassing people. Look.
And on Monday, Spider-Man was spotted just outside the activity zone aggressively following a tourist after he didn't get a tip. Later, we saw this gang of characters on 42nd Street at Broadway and others at 7th Avenue, posing for pictures out of the activity zone. This is what happened when we asked one of them about it.
There's an area for the characters.
No, mommy, no English.
These characters already pushing the boundaries, not even a week after the zones went into effect. An effort to regulate costume characters, ticket sellers, and other street performers.
We set up rules, we set up areas, and we have people up there to monitor the area, and if they don't comply, they'll be subject to enforcement.
The NYPD tells us so far 0 summonses have been issued. This Spider-Man is frustrated, saying the new rules aren't being enforced. He says he complies even if it means losing business.
Now, I can't entertain in a small box.
Are you losing money here?
Absolutely. This is not good.
The NYPD tells us an officer must witness the zone violation in order to issue a summons, which could come with a fine of up to $500.
This is a green zone. This is something the city has tried to do to curtail the renegade characters who hassle you and harass you and assault you for tips. They are supposed to stand inside this green zone, but because of COVID, the restrictions have been let loose for now. This is video that I shot a few years ago, and watch the lady insult me when I don't have a tip for her. They stuck him in the green zone. They used to be, he's out of the green zone. They used to be all over, look, he's out. But then they stuck him in here. Look how they come running, look. There's a tourist. Come in here and tip us, guys. There's like 12 of them. They come running. This dude got a parrot on his shoulder. You know what? I'm going to walk through the green zone and see if they say anything.
I'm also going to film these girls' titties right here for you. There's some titties. They're in the green. They're in the green zone here. And you see, they used to be able to just walk wherever they wanted. Right? We're in Times Square. And I thought, oh, there's too many of them have assaulted tourists fighting for the money. Oh my God, is that hippo thing from when I was little? Henrietta Hippo? I think that is Henrietta Hippo. If you're old as me, chime in. That's a very small Henrietta. Anyways, they used to be able to mingle. They'd be out here and they would come up and they'd take a picture. And now, they got them in the green zone. You have to be on that green thing. And it's really weird watching it because look, as soon as one gets one, they're like used car salesmen. They come running. Now I'm way over here because I don't want the girls to think I'm looking at their titties, because trust me, I'm not. But there's the naked girls in Times Square. And now, oh God, she's walking over here, and I don't want to get a lap dance or anything. Oh, no, thank you.
Yeah, no free, baby.
No, thank you.
No, thank you, no.
I don't want your picture.
Why did you do?
Please leave me alone. You should pay me to take your picture.
No, I'm very fat.
You give me $5, I'll take your picture.
Too fat.
Oh, I'm too fat. I'm too fat. She came all the way over here. She wanted money because I filmed her for you guys. And see, that's why they put him in the green zone, because these motherfuckers will tackle you for shit. I think it's pretty funny she called me fat. You know, she doesn't understand. I'm sensitive. Anyways, it's not free. It's not free. I understand. I support the hustle. I support the hustle. I want them to be... Oh, don't go over there, honey. She's going to get you for $2. And you're going to get bed bugs. Where's your parent? All right. Oh, he had a purple one. Oh, there he goes. He got a purple one and a green one on his back. Just for the record, I live here. So the titty girls are out here all the time. They do nothing for me. No thank you. But I totally understand that they would want to be compensated and get some tips. But I just thought this would be, I'm walking home and I thought, you know what? The green zone is working. There's $1. He's trying to give her $1. Now look. Oh, she got a couple. How many people are going to split that? By the way, has anybody ever seen Minnie Mouse wearing a yellow dress? So, people are standoffish now. They used to be able to mingle anywhere out here. And I can see that it's really cutting into their tips. I am not some jerk. I want them to make money. As long as they're legally making it and they're not hurting anybody. The problem was they became very harassing, and they would actually assault, and I don't know how many have been arrested. I got pictures of Minnie Mouse arrested.
I actually took these photographs myself. I have seen so many of these costume characters arrested, but I've seen so many more harassing and fighting and doing anything they can to rip off the tourists, and it has to stop.
Spider-Man's been arrested like 10 times. Batman. They come up, a tourist walks by, they say, take a picture. Say, sure. Take a picture with them, then they want $5. Just like the creepy lady who just walked up and take a picture, baby, $5.
Once again, folks, because of COVID and social distancing, the characters have been let loose from the green zone, but I think it was very effective when they had it. Hopefully, they'll bring it back as soon as possible. They just painted these green spots a week or two ago, so I think they're getting ready now that COVID is on its way out. Hopefully, they're getting ready to go back to normal and corral these guys once and for all. Thanks for tuning in. Please have a wonderful day, and please be kind and loving to each other. If you come to Times Square, you're going to have a fun time. My suggestion is please avoid these costume characters. God bless.
There's a new call for increased regulations in Times Square after a 14-year-old girl reported being touched inappropriately by an Elmo character.
Seems they're at it again. CBS 2's Dick Brennan in our newsroom with more on the arrest and what was shown on video today. Dick.
Well, Maurice, the Times Square Alliance says these characters are being way too aggressive and they're demanding action from the city council. Today, they showed some interactions with costume characters caught on tape. In one instance, you see a man approached by two characters. Look at him. He jumps up on an elevated bench bench to get out of their way. In others, characters approach families putting their arms around children. The Alliance says that 47% of New Yorkers have reported so-called unpleasant interaction in the area around 42nd Street. Now they're asking the city council to work on additional regulations and legislation to define which interactions are appropriate.
It's a commercial activity. It's reasonable for the city to say this is how we're going to regulate it. This is Times Square. Quirky is fine, but creepy is not. That's what we've always said.
Now, all of this follows the arrest of a 54-year-old New Jersey man who's accused of grabbing a teen's behind while dressed as Elmo. The Alliance says if you go out there with cameras today, though, you won't see much of this because the characters are aware of that arrest and have apparently backed off.